Hi, this is Michael Adams for Stock Telegraph and CEORoaster. And yeah, I'm really getting busy. I'm taping another interview, but this time it's my first interview with Mark Scott. He's the CEO of Sassy Resources, and I already wrote up the company a couple of times. They had pretty good news releases last Friday. Today is Monday, February the 8th. And yeah, my pleasure to have you here, Mark. It was an exciting week for you last week, I guess. And for the guys that are not familiar with SASY, SASY is trading on the Canadian market and the symbol is SASY. And the German symbols for my German audience will be somewhere around this video. So welcome to the show, Mark. But before we start, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, please.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me, Michael. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Mark Scott. I'm the president and CEO of Sassy Resources, as you said. I'm also a director in the company. I have a 25-year background in mining and all different parts of the industry, right from frontline work, operating equipment, and working in exploration and production, up through operations and maintenance management to my last role before I joined Sassy as its founding CEO was as VP of Vale Canada and head of its Manitoba operations, where I was managing an operation that was fully integrated, exploration, 3 producing mines, concentrator, smelter, refinery with about 50,000 tons a year of finished nickel production, plating
Oh,
nickel production,
okay.
and 1,800 employees and about $1 billion a year Canadian in revenue. So that operation was downsizing, and I was looking for a new challenge. So we the folks who were starting up Sassy Resources and I found one another, and it was a good fit. And so Sassy was founded really as an independent company in 2020 when
Yeah.
the plan of arrangement that spun it out from our former parent company was completed in February of 2020, and it's been a really exciting, really fast paced 12 months since, which included multiple rounds of financing, listing on multiple exchanges,
Yeah.
and a full exploration program that we executed at our Four More Gold Silver project.
Yeah, so really, really busy. And yeah, we are going to dig into the details when I bring up the presentation. Just in full transparency, I am a shareholder in Sassy Resources, so I'm kind of biased. Yeah, I love the company, but it's up to you. So, Mark, let me bring up the presentation, and then you can tell my viewers why they should also start loving Sassy.
Great.
So maybe
So
just yeah, start. Yeah.
the first slide here, you can see on the title slide, there's a picture. That's the diamond drill actually drilling the first one of the first 2 holes at the Westmore discovery zone in the late summer of 2020. So I'll help position where that is with a bit more context as we move through the slides. You mentioned the German symbol. We're listed in Frankfurt. It's 4E7, also in Stuttgart and on Tradegate now, just as of
Yeah.
a couple of weeks ago. So here to help position the Four More project location, you can see down in the bottom of the page here is the map of the province of British Columbia. The western provinces in Canada, as I'm sure you know, are quite large. You could fit all of Germany and France combined inside of BC and still have plenty of room left over.
Yeah.
So the province is big. The exploration properties tend to be big. The Four More property here up in the Eskay camp, just north of the historic Eskay Creek mine, the highest grade gold mine in history, or one of, anyways, is up here in the heart of the Golden Triangle. It's 146 square kilometers, so quite a sizable property. And here it is with a bit of a different view up. You can see some of the
Hmm.
surrounding discoveries and operating mines. So the Galore Creek deposit, one of the largest undeveloped copper gold projects in the world, that's a 50-50 joint venture between Newmont and Teck Resources, is just west of us. In fact, their planned access route for that project actually passes through our property.
Okay.
The Shaft Creek deposit is just north of us, and then you have the Eskay camp, Eskay Creek, that Skeena Resources is developing. SK Mining, Garibaldi, and others just south of us. So it's a prolific district, the Golden Triangle, and the SK camp in particular. Yep. As I mentioned before, SASY completed the plan of arrangement that spun SASY out of its former parent company and made it an independent reporting issuer a year ago in February 2020. And then in the months that followed, we appointed our board and our executive officers, of course. Sure. We signed 2 stakeholder agreements with the Tahltan Nation, First Nation in northwestern BC. We were granted by the province of British Columbia a 3-year exploration permit for the Westmore property. We listed on the CSE, the Canadian Securities Exchange, in August of 2020 and started trading on August 17th. And then listed later in 2020 in Frankfurt and Stuttgart under the symbol 4E7. Trade date followed later on, and of course OTCQB under the symbol SSYRF in the United States.
Okay.
Through multiple rounds of private placement capital raises last year, we raised a little better than $8 million Canadian in capital, and we used that during the summer to execute the very successful first full exploration campaign at the Westmore project in northwestern BC.
Okay, let me just go back one slide, because some of my viewers might remember a similar map, because I was the first one to kind of discover for the German market the company SSYRF Resources that you mentioned. And if my audience followed me, because I think I did the first video interview with Walter and Ron Nitolitsky in 2016, when the company was trading at a couple of pennies or cents, right? And they had like a fantastic run for people that have bought in and hold the stock. So this is why, and to take a look at this map, yeah, you're right in the middle of all the SSYRF Resources projects.
Yeah, we're just north of Skeena and the historic SK Creek and Snip projects that they're in the process of redeveloping and have had great success with over the last couple of years. So we're just north of that set of projects, those historic producers. And then, like I said, we're just east of the quite large Galore Creek and Copper Canyon deposits, just south of Shaft Creek, very much on trend with some of the major significant deposits in the Golden Triangle.
Okay, cool. So from my end, yeah, if some of my audiences missed Skeena or might have already took some profit on it, this might be another chance for you to get in early, because we are trading at a, of course, way lower market cap, and the stock price is around 60 cents right now, if I'm not fooled.
About 60 cents Canadian at the moment, yeah.
Exactly. And you had a pretty good run on last Friday, based on the news that you have been finally able to publish. There has been some issues with the lab, right? There was some delay with the lab, like everyone. I had a video interview with the guys from with Claudia from Kodiak Copper 2 weeks ago, and everybody's facing the same challenges with the labs right now.
Yeah, it was a busy year in BC in terms of exploration, because of metals prices being what they were. Gold and silver in particular being up through the summer drove an increase in the volume of activity that was ongoing in the province. That created under normal circumstances would have created a backlog at the assay labs, and there are only a handful of them in the province for what is quite a large mature industry in the province. And that problem was made worse by the pandemic and social distancing in the workplace at the labs, and their inability to hire and train to handle that increase in volume. Things got backlogged, and we still have not received all of the results from the work that we did that finished in the middle of October 2020. And here we are chatting on the 8th of February 2021.
Yeah, but that was the guidance that Claudia gave me. She said that they are waiting for like 3 months for the results to come in.
Yeah, for what normally would be about a 20-day turnaround.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, but hopefully this clears up sooner or later. Yeah, because now with the vaccine and everything seems to get into the right direction. So I keep fingers crossed for the remainder of the results to come in fairly soon. Yeah, just move ahead in the presentation, please.
Sure. So here you can see me standing up with that same diamond drill from the title slide of this presentation in the background. Not quite as nice a day on this in this instance when we were up there, but that's where we were drilling up on top of the Westmore intrusive. The picture below me there, that's Ian Fraser. He's our VP of Exploration. Very experienced exploration geologist with a track record of gold discoveries throughout his career. And so you can see here our roster of directors, management, and technical advisors, very experienced, well-rounded teams in all cases. I spoke a bit about my background a while ago. Rob Stewart is a 35-plus year professional geologist with whom I've worked previously, who's an independent director with the company. Kate McLaughlin is a 25-year-plus mining engineer who is in a senior role with Stantec Engineering Consultants, has a long resume of operations experience and engineering experience. Richard Savage is a retired broker from Yorkton Securities in Vancouver, brings a capital markets expertise to our board. The management team, I mentioned Ian. Sean McGrath, our CFO, has worked with a number of public companies over the years, in particular in the junior resource sector. And then our technical advisors are really top notch. Mike Middleton is a longtime prospector. He's a geotech in BC. He's actually the one who in 2019 ran the short but very productive prospecting campaign that discovered both the 2019 discovery vein at the Westmore discovery zone and the toe showing at the base of the Moore Glacier, which has receded by several hundred meters since Mike was last on the property a few years prior. He spent quite a number of seasons working on the Foremoor property, actually, with previous operators. So he's sort of our in-house institutional memory on the property at the Foremoor.
Okay.
Dr. Peter Lightfoot is a geologist of some renown. Has played a role in a number of discoveries over the last few years in the Golden Triangle in the SK camp. Terry Coughlin is former CEO, is a founding CEO and chairman of Go Gold Resources, again, a professional geologist with a long track record of success in the industry. Then Roniker McKenzie, Elizabeth Roniker and her team of geologists, geochemists, geophysicists, geophysic specialists have been supporting us in the sort of the back office technical room over the last year and a half or so. Okay. So a great, well-rounded team that we've put together that it's really a pleasure to be a part of and work with every day.
Okay.
In terms of share structure, it's a very tight share structure. You mentioned we're trading in a 60-cent Canadian sort of range at the moment, and we only have 38.7 million shares outstanding. So that compares to the dozen or so junior exploration companies that we compare ourselves to up in and around the SK camp in the Golden Triangle, who average 100 to 200 million shares outstanding and have on average at the moment about $139 million market cap Canadian. Okay. And we're sitting at under 40 million shares outstanding and a price of about 60 cents. So give or take $25 million market cap. We really believe there is a lot of room for growth in our share price and our market cap as we move forward with getting the rest of our results out and developing the company and continuing to grow the company over the next few weeks and months and years.
I I totally agree with you. And so, do you see any specific reason? I think some of the companies you mentioned are maybe a little bit ahead of you, right, in the process. That's maybe one point. But the second point is probably, and that's just about to change, that my feeling is, and I was talking to some German investors, that some of them got kind of frustrated because of the delay with the drill results, which again is not your fault. Yeah, it's a problem of everybody. But it seems to me that specifically on SASY, those guys were, yeah, didn't have the patience to really wait out, and there was some selling coming in because at last year, yeah, you traded way higher already. So is that kind of a right thing that I mentioned?
Yeah, so there are a few factors there. One is that you're right. Some of the other companies have been around longer than the 6 or 7 months that Sassy's been trading as a public company at this point. Right, we're still pretty young, still a pretty new entity for people to get to know,
Yep.
and so some of those groups that we're comparing ourselves to have been at this for quite a number of years and have a thicker catalog of results that they've generated and maybe a bit more patience among their shareholders because of that, right? Skeena Resources or SK Mining, for example, have been around a lot longer. Their market caps are up in the hundreds of millions. Compared to younger, more greenfield explorers, we're comparing pretty well right now in terms of market cap, and we see a lot of upside because of the agility and the quickness with which we're able to get things done, and we have done. Some of the frustration with the slowness in results coming out, we probably could have done a better job of setting expectations around that, but we really thought in October when we were wrapping up the program that based on what we were being told through October and November by our assay lab, that there was no reason to expect that we'd be in the middle of February and still waiting for results, right? So there's only so much of that we can control. We're getting the results out now, and any objective look at them would say that it's a very positive set of results that we were able to generate in our very first full exploration program there at the Formore. So we're excited about what we've been able to achieve so far, and even more excited about what we're going to achieve moving forward.
Yeah, and I totally agree. Yeah, again, it wasn't your fault. Yeah, it was a problem of the whole industry. And but based on this, you have now a share price of around 60 cents, right? You already traded way higher. So for guys that get familiar with SASY right now for the first time, to me, it's kind of a ground floor opportunity to get in, yeah, before the stock price might rise to higher levels with further results coming in or other milestones that the company is going to hit. Okay, thanks. Go ahead.
Well, I should mention there, I mean, you're absolutely right. I think you're absolutely right. Anyways, and our last financing that we just closed in October of 2020 was at 90 cents for the hard units and $1.20 for the Canadian flow through, right? So that's a good floor for us, we think, moving forward to get back to and well beyond the $1.24 high that we hit earlier a couple of months ago.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. So here you can see another view of the property map for the Formore project. It can be a bit confusing for people who are new to SASY, new to the Formore, to understand what we're talking about, Westmore versus Formore and Moore Creek and Hanging Valley. So I thought we'd just spend a minute going through that. The overall project area, the 146 square kilometer project area, is referred to as the Formore Gold Silver project or the Formore property. So that's the whole property that's outlined in red here on this slide. The Moore Creek corridor is an at least 5 kilometer long set of VMS style surface expressions that's had a fair bit of historic work done on it and historic drilling done on it by previous operators. So that runs from north of the Ryder showing down to the southwest, southwest of the toe showing and in under Moore Glacier. So that's the Moore Creek VMS corridor. The total mineralized Moore Creek corridor is over 7 kilometers in length when you include the Westmore discovery zone, which is a different style of mineralization, but is at the southwest end of the Moore Creek corridor. So you can see it indicated here, and we'll look at it in a little more detail in a bit, but that's where most of the excitement has been generated over the last few months. That's where in 2019, Mike Middleton identified 6 surface samples that ranged from 15 to 120 grams gold and up to 1,900 grams silver per ton in the first 6 samples that we took from the top of Westmore. And we went back in July of 2020 when we hit the ground there last summer for the field season, took over 800 surface samples, and on the basis of the very first few dozen results that we got back from the assay lab in a timely manner at the time that we ordered on a rush basis, decided to shift the focus of the later part of our program to have all of our phase 2 drilling done at Westmore, rather than over on the targets that existed and still exist and still require follow-up this coming year in the Hanging Valley at a number of the showings there over on the eastern part of the property. So we shifted our focus. We did some drilling in phase 1 this past summer in the Moore Creek corridor around mostly around the BRT showing to test the historic geology and extend out that historic known historic geology along strike, which we did successfully. We drilled 2 holes at the toe showing to use for borehole EM purposes, to have a look around and to see if we could identify the target that Kaminko was searching for when they drilled through the ice close to that location way back in the late 1980s. And then in the second phase of our drilling program for the summer, we're really focused on Westmore.
Yep.
Out in the eastern part of the property is what we call the Hanging Valley. It's actually made up of potentially multiple different multi-kilometer lineaments. One from SG to Rhino that's a number of kilometers in length. There's geochemical similarities between the two that suggest that they're part of the same system. So even though much of the space in between is covered by a glacier, it appears as though they have a relationship with one another. It sort of runs in the same orientation and is the geochemistry is similar to that which you see in the VMS style of mineralization in the Moore Creek corridor. Sunday Boulder is a potential lineament that has produced quite a number of high-grade gold samples, mostly from actually quartz and limestone type samples, as opposed to the massive sulfides. And then Heather Zigzag appears to be a skarn system where the Heather showing has produced a sample as high as 21.4% copper. So there are multiple styles of mineralization, multiple mineralized systems that we're looking at on this property, and so there's a lot of opportunity here to keep making discoveries and to keep identifying different potential deposits on the Foremoor property.
Yeah, and as most of my viewers know, that usually it's discovery that drives the share price, right? Besides maybe M&A activity, but for a junior exploration company, it's all about discovery. Exactly, right?
Yeah, it's discovery, and then what you can do with that, right?
Yeah.
Along with the M&A that you mentioned. So you have to have the ground to go do the work and be successful at doing the work. And so that's those are the two things we're focused on.
Okay, cool.
So here, this is a bit of a different look at the same project area, the same formwork project area, with some of the faulting indicated and those various lineaments that I was mentioning represented here. So the 2020 exploration program that we ran last summer, we built a COVID protocol compliant 20-person camp. We executed 2 phases of drilling. Phase 1, like I mentioned, was focused on the BRT with 2 additional holes at the toe showing, which was a 2019 discovery by Middleton and Company that's shown some high grade zinc along with other metals in grab and channel sampling. And then the phase 2 drilling was at Westmore, of course. Extensive prospecting and mapping, 800 plus, I think it was 822 surface samples taken at Westmore alone, let alone the rest of the property where we were sampling and mapping, and then all of the drill core that we sent off. So well in excess of 2,000 samples were sent out for assay from the 2020 campaign. And then we shut down when weather forced us, the water lines going to the drill and at the camp forced us to demob around the middle of October, our 3rd week of October. So, we look forward to getting back onto the property as soon as the weather permits this summer. And it's too early in the year to tell just how much snow will fall up in that part of the world over the course of the whole season, but we'll get up there as soon as the ground is available to us.
Okay.
So here's a partial sample map, surface sample map from the top of the Westmore intrusive. So on the left here, you can see the gold assay results that are represented by the bubbles, the circles on the map here. This is a satellite photo of the top of the Westmore intrusive.
Okay.
The grade of those samples is represented by the size of the circles. And you can see the collar locations and the diamond drill hole traces also represented on here. So you can see where the 6 holes that we drilled at Westmore were drilled in 2020. The sample map on the right is the same thing for Silber. So here you have, I think it's 759 of the 822 total surface samples that were taken on the top of the Westmore intrusive this year by our team represented here.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And they range as high as 157 grams gold and 1,510 grams silver.
Wow.
There's quite a robust system of quartz veins, gold and silver bearing quartz veins that are visible on surface. And what we wanted to test with, this very preliminary 1,600 or so meters of drilling across 6 holes was whether there's continuity at depth of that mineralization that we can see in the veins on surface, and the drilling confirms that continuity is there. That doesn't mean we have a production ready deposit on our hands. There's work to do to follow up on it.
Yeah.
But we know we have some of the veins that we identify on surface and mapped on surface. We can see those in the drill core. There's gold and silver, some base metals, though it's a little more spotty. This is really a gold and silver target at the Westmore discovery zone. So we can see that at depth. We've gotten down to about 225 meters of vertical depth. It's worth noting that at the bottom of each of the first 2 holes, there were wide intervals of anomalous gold values that were demonstrated in intervals that were up to 18 meters thick. No sort of headline grabbing individual intersections in those, but certainly encouraging moving forward for follow-up in terms of using the geochemistry to vector in on potential high-grade, thicker, higher-grade zones that may exist at depth As we go deeper into these veins, as we get a better understanding of the deposit here and the mineralizing event or events that led to the deposition of that gold and silver here at the Westmore, get closer to the source of that event. That's all the follow-up work that has yet to be done, and that we'll start doing as soon as we can get back on the ground here in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
There's about a 500-meter vertical distance from the top of the Westmore intrusive down to the base elevation in the valley below. And you can actually follow visually. It wasn't safe for our prospectors to, because of the steepness of some of the hillside there. The topography is pretty rugged, but you can see from the air or from the ground that those veins continue on for that 500 vertical meter distance, in addition to having a footprint that's about 600 by 600 meters square on surface on the top of the Westmore intrusive. So you're talking about quite a large target area within which there will be zones where the veins pinch and swell. They come together, the stockworks come together, and the density of that veining is greater in some areas than others, and there will be some variability in the grade of the mineralization that's present in that veining. So our next job then is one to keep expanding what we know about this target area. It's open in all directions, including at depth, and then to start vectoring in on where those thicker, higher grade portions of this deposit are. Okay. So that's the work that's ahead.
Okay, Mark, is there a chance, or are you going to prove or to try to prove that some of these zones are connected?
Well, that may be the case. We know in some areas the various veins that run, the major veins that run east-west, they strike east-west. They're fairly steeply dipping, 80 plus degrees dip. So we know that they're connected by a series of mostly about 30-degree offset splay veins in between them. And we know from the drill core and from the surface observations, there are areas where that stockwork of veining is more dense than in other places. We also know that with these types of veins, these types of shears, that there are likely to be areas where the veins sort of balloon out and have these egg-shaped thickened zones that are longer in their vertical dimension than in the horizontal. So those are all the things we'll be looking for. We'll use the geochemistry, the database that we've built now to our advantage to try and vector in on those as we move forward.
Okay.
I think we'll have to start drilling off the Westmore on a fairly regular pattern, and then start to focus in on more specific higher grade and or thicker zones from there.
Okay.
And we really don't know what's happening at depth beyond where we've drilled so far. So again, there's an opportunity to move further down the hillside, drill deeper, and continue to build our understanding of what's happening. All of the early results are very encouraging, right? This surface sample map, the percentage of these veins, the percentage of the samples that have been taken that have returned high-grade gold and silver results is very encouraging. The continuity of the veins and that mineralization at depth is very encouraging. The preliminary analysis and some historic work suggests that these are younger mineralizing events, younger rocks that we're dealing with here than are present on some of the rest of the property. We've commissioned a series of studies to help us better understand really where these events fit in geological time, whether they're sort of contemporary to the Eskay Creek type mineralizing events in the region during the Jurassic period. So Early indications are that there are some similarities there. So there, those are all reasons for optimism that we're on the trail of something pretty significant here.
Okay, cool.
So these are some of the veins that were mapped on surface. You can see the red squares, little red squares that are indicated here, is a partial representation of some of the samples that in which visible gold, coarse visible gold, were identified. And then again, you can see the collar locations and in this case, approximate hole traces and where the holes were drilled. So the first two holes, Westmore 20001 and 002, were drilled here, where the initial two drill holes are indicated. 111 meters to the east is where the third and fifth holes were collared, and the fourth and sixth holes were collared some 300 meters away from that, over on the north side of the top of the Westmore intrusive here. The fourth hole was drilled to the north and went through the 2019 discovery vein. The sixth hole was drilled to the southeast and actually went through this fault. And we don't have the results back from any of hole 6 yet. So we're not sure what it's going to tell us, but it'll tell us a lot in any event about this fault. And actually, it ended up kind of over here. The toe of the hole ended up down under where holes 1 and 2 were collared. So it was quite a long one. It'll tell us a lot about the structure and the geology and the chemistry that's going on here at depth through this faulted zone in the middle of the intrusive here.
Okay.
And then I think this is our last look at the Westmore. So it's another view to try and help people visualize what it is we're talking about here. This is an aerial picture taken from the south, looking northeast, up along the Moore Creek corridor. So you have the Westmore in the foreground with the diamond drill sitting on top of it, where Westmore holes 1 and 2 were drilled. Again, then 111 meters east of that to the right on the page here, where holes 3 and 5 were drilled. And then you can see 300 meters over to the northwest, where holes 4 and 6 were drilled. The phase 1 drilling at the toe is where holes FM 2005 and 06 are indicated. And then the BRT showing where most of the phase 1 drilling was done is further up to the northeast along the Moore Creek corridor. And you can see the location here where our camp was for 2020. And actually just in behind it, a couple hundred meters in behind our camp, you can see the clearing for what will eventually be an access road here that comes within a few hundred meters of our camp location on its way to the Galore Creek project, and runs within about 1.5 kilometers of the Westmore. So it'll be, we're always looking for news from Teck and Newmont as to how the Galore Creek project is coming along, and when that road, which is currently 16 kilometers away from us, up to where it's been completed, we're always looking for news as to when that might come a little further.
Okay, Mark, quick question, because I announced our video interview last week to some of my readers, and one came back to me with a question to ask you about the existing infrastructure. Is there any existing infrastructure?
Well, that road is part of it. So we're about, the Formore, the camp location is about 30 or 35 kilometers west of the Bob Quinn airstrip. And Highway 37, which is in great condition, has been upgraded significantly over the last few years. There are 3 fairly newly developed hydroelectric generating stations in the region, a high voltage transmission line that runs up alongside of Highway 37 and through Bob Quinn, which we use as our jumping off point, right, to access the site. And then that road from Galore Creek that comes from just north of the Bob Quinn airstrip through our property and on through to Galore Creek. So Yes, quite a bit of infrastructure in the region, not to mention an all-weather, year-round, deep water, tidewater port at Stewart, BC, just down the highway, which is suitable for the shipping of concentrates. And in this picture here, you can see the nice wide flat valley we have that will be suitable for the installation of any future infrastructure, if and when we get to that point, concentrators and permanent camp facilities, maintenance facilities, those sorts of things, with abundant water and supply here too. So yeah, it's a good location. We're not right next to a major city, but if we were, this discovery potential wouldn't exist. There's great infrastructure in the region that has been upgraded quite significantly over the last several years, and bodes well for future developments in this area, on our property and with the other explorers who are working in the region.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
So here, this is a plan view from a sat photo. Again, you can see where the three collar locations are at Westmore over here, the two that we drilled at the toe, and then the others that we had in and around the historic BRT showing in phase one. So BRT, we were testing historic geology there. Good results. We had some assays as high as 7.97 grams gold, some significant zinc and copper values, along with the gold and silver enrichment that we see. There's gold and silver bearing quartz that's over printed on top of semi-massive and massive sulfides. And we got some intersections of good width, good grade, quite near the surface. So we were happy with how phase one worked out, and there's opportunity, ample opportunity there, we think, to do what we're going to do before the field season starts in 2021, and bring to bear on the whole property a modern airborne geophysical survey that will give us better penetration, better resolution than any of the data we have available to us now that would have been generated 15 or 20 years ago using the technology available to the operators at the time. So we're going to fly a survey over the whole property as early as we can in the season, and then have that at our disposal, have the results of that at our disposal to target follow-up drilling in the summer of 2021.
Okay.
And so that gets us into the plan for this year. So we'll fly that airborne survey, get mobilized into campus, like I said a while ago, as soon as the weather permits. We'll have our field season where we will do some follow-up drilling at Westmore, and continue to expand and target within the Westmore discovery zone. And then there will be a series of drill targets identified and followed up upon, both in the Moore Creek corridor and in the Hanging Valley, where we didn't get to some of those Hanging Valley targets last year because of how quickly and urgently things developed at Westmore. We shifted our focus over to Westmore from Hanging Valley. So we need to go back and test some of those quite high-grade gold, silver, and base metal showings at SG Boulder Sunday, really, in particular, and then Heather Zigzag.
Okay.
And that's about it for the slides. So so again, you can look us up online at sassyresources.ca. We trade on the Frankfurt and Stuttgart exchanges under the symbol 4E7, SASY on the CSE.
Great, thank you. So I have two more questions. The one question is coming from Stefan, and he's asking about, do you need to raise more funds?
Yeah, we currently have about 3.6 million in cash in the bank after having paid all of our bills for the 2020 season and undertaking all those various listings, and all the expenses that come along with that. So we're in a good cash position to to get things started for this year. We will look to raise additional capital as we get a little further into 2021. You know, and the specifics of our plan for the year become a little more clear, and some of the corporate development things that we've been working on in the background become public and become more clear to our audience.
Okay, and now let me bring us back, because we're done with the presentation. Hi, here we are. And then there's another question from Marcus, and he might not be familiar with the process. He said, like, so what is the process? Are you coming up with a 43-101, a pre-feasibility study soon? So I think that's...
Yeah, so we're very early stage. These are early stage developments at the Westmore. We did commission a 43-101 compliant technical report for both the Westmore project and our second project, the Nickelbat project in northwestern Ontario, prior to our listing application for the CSE in 2020. But I think what Marcus is asking about is a compliant resource estimate and a pre-feasibility study. Those are further down the road for us. We're not at that point. We're more early stage than that. So like I said a while ago, at the Westmore Discovery Zone, for example, you know, the next stage is to keep, given that area is open, the deposit's open in all directions. The next stage is to find out more about where the boundaries of that system might be, how deep it goes, how far laterally it goes, and then start to narrow in on and focus in on higher grade, thicker subsets of that quite large target area. Then that's the point at which you can start to potentially, you know, depending on the density of the drilling that you're able to get into a particular area, start to model the geology and come up with resource estimates. But we're not at that point just yet. That's sort of the next phase of development for us.
Yeah, for sure. And so is there any, or are you also looking for new acquisitions, or are you maybe talking to some bigger companies that want to acquire you, or is that also too early in the process?
Well, we have evaluated literally dozens of different projects for potential acquisitions for us to acquire those projects. And so, you know, we've been looking for projects in the right commodities, in a stable, secure jurisdiction, and projects that are year-round road accessible to us, so that we can work on them 12 months a year. We're not limited by the type of sort of shorter field season that you're able to get up in at the Westmore project. So
that makes sense.
You know, we think we're in some pretty mature discussions on that front as we speak. So look forward to sharing that news just as soon as we're able to, and having you know, potentially multiple projects that we add to the SASY portfolio that give us the ability to work prospective ground all year round, and you know, generate news flow and results more regularly than would be the case when you're limited to a 3 or 4 month field season up in northwestern BC.
No, I think that's a pretty smart move, and I keep fingers crossed. And whenever you come up with something, I will commit you to do another video interview with me to give my viewers an update. Maybe to sum up, I have just 1 second. I have this. Can you see what that is?
So you've got your crystal ball out.
Exactly.
You tell me what it
take a look into this crystal ball and tell me where would you like to see SASY in 5 years from now.
Well, 5 years is a long ways out, considering the pace that we've developed things over the last 6 or 7 months. You know, I can tell you this year, 2021, we look forward to growing the company. You know, we mentioned that M&A activity. We look forward to you know, bringing some of that across the finish line that we've been working on for quite a number of months. look forward to getting back to the Foremoor and continuing to expand on the multiple new discoveries that we've generated there in our first sort of season and a bit, and hopefully we'll do the same thing on any new projects that we're able to acquire over the next little while. The Nickelback project, we will either drill it and develop it, or find some alternate means of monetizing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think 5 years from now, Sassy will either be developing a project on its own, and bringing it into production, and planning to sort of evolve from being explorer into a producer,
Mm-hmm.
or we will have had so much success in developing one or more of our projects that somebody else will be interested in paying a fair price and paying a premium to take that project, as one piece, or the company as a whole,
Yep.
over. And I wouldn't want to speculate as to who that might be at this point. It's too early for that, right? But that's basically the path, right? We have good ground, highly prospective ground, good shareholder base. We're going to get out more this year and help more of the European audience, investor population, and more the American investor population get to know Sassy and learn who we are, and come on board as shareholders. That will help us, right, stabilize the share price and the volumes moving forward. And I think it's a pretty bright path we have ahead of us.
Yeah.
It's not a perfectly clear crystal ball that you held up in front of me, but that's the path forward.
Okay, great. And as I said, yeah, I'm a shareholder in the company. I put a lot of faith into Mark and his team. I like the projects. I like that it's kind of a new discovery in a prolific mining area, for lack of a better term. I think you have all the right things. Yeah, you just need to push the buttons, and now that I can say that. So you just need to kind of push the buttons. Yeah, you have the drilling. You have the results that are still missing that will come up. You will have the new drill program. You're looking for another project, so that you can go and drill full year around. So you will have more investor communication, especially in America or in the US and Germany. And guys, keep in mind, it's a brand new company, right? So so far they had to focus on getting their drilling done, which is the right thing to do for a mining company, my 2 cents, right? And now that we have something, now is the right point in time to get the word out on a more bigger scale. That's my approach. Okay, so Mark, first of all, thank you very much. I know that you're really, really busy, and you took a lot of time to educate me and my viewership. And I will be definitely in touch with you as soon as there's some exciting, more exciting news coming out of the company. I would say, like, the final words are yours.
Well, that's a pretty good summary. Thanks for having me, Michael. Look forward to being back. We do have 4 more holes from the Westmore to get out, and a few more surface samples. Some corporate development news coming hopefully in the near future, and lots of exciting plans ahead for 2021. So look forward to sharing that with you as soon as we're able to do that.
Great. Okay, for now, thank you very much, Mark. Bye.